Kira, Renato, thank you so much for your time today. Congratulations on what is work of art, I believe, with Encanto. I love what I was able to see so far.
Oh,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Appreciate it.
So I want to ask you both, how challenging is it to have to design so many characters? I know that the producers were talking about that one of the big challenges is to bring so much of this family together and now to have to design them all.
Well, it's challenging in very many ways. This is the most challenging film I've ever worked on, and I think Kira will say the same. Um, there's technical issues with it. First, when you have this many characters in one file, the file gets really heavy, very difficult to move. So it kind of tends to be a technical challenge, but the artistic challenge is also great because you have all these individuals that you need to get to know from the beginning of the movie all the way to the end. You need to follow them, and you need to make sure each one of them has their journey, that you understand their drive, and the outcome of that. So we did that with a lot of care. All felt very passionate about the movie when we started, and what we do when we're working with Kira and I have a team of supervisors that work with us. So we assign each one of those characters to a supervisor to oversee the character from the beginning to end. So for instance, Mirabel, she was assigned to one of our supervisors. Her name is Kelly McCallahan. And her job was to oversee Mirabel from its very early stages all the way through the finished picture. And she was working with the character designer, with the modeler, and with the rigger to make sure she had all the controls that Mirabel needed to emote the things that she needed throughout the film. She was also looking at Stephanie Beatrice performances, and to see if what she needed to do to make sure Mirabel's expressions were really capable to deliver the kind of performances that Stephanie was delivering on her read. So I don't know, Kira, if you want to pick that up and talk more about that as well.
I mean, I think it's a long process for sure. It takes a lot of exploration, and once the character was built and ready for animation, then we had the hard task of trying to figure out. Mirabel was so hard, and you think like, oh, okay, we've done a lot of movies with lead female characters, like we've got this. Oh no, like she was the toughest character I think we've ever tackled from not only a story but a personality perspective. The directors really wanted her to not be like any of the other heroines that we had in the past, and so like we had to dive into and it was a great pleasure, but dive into kind of the Colombian culture specifics. So we really wanted to give Mirabel gestures that felt authentic and familiar to that audience. But also she had to be somebody that was capable and yet imperfect in her motion. But we didn't want her to be just klutzy and stumbling over everything all the time and have that be like a shtick that she has. So we ended up doing like a bunch of tests early on, and the directors very kindly said, that's not it, that's not it. And what we realized was that Mirabel is different. She acts differently depending on who she's with. And I think that's true of a lot of us. Like when she's in front of the town and the kids in the town, she's putting on a show and she's pretending that she's absolutely part of, feels at home and at a part with her extraordinary family. And just don't ask about my gift, but like she is she's one of them and nothing bothers her. And then when she's with her sisters, she has a different dynamic. When she's with Abuela, she gets quiet, more insecure. And then when she's in a room by herself, you really see the vulnerability of how the weight of not feeling like she's enough, and not, why didn't I get a gift just like everybody else in my family? How that's really affecting her and her drive to figure out why. So we found that she had to act differently depending on the situation that she was in. So it was a very hard puzzle, but a fun challenge.
That sounds like a lot of work. You guys do such great work. I always like seeing behind the scenes on how films are created. In this particular case, we got to see a little bit ahead of time, and we got to see some unfinished shots, which I love because I love the process. I love to see how you guys do your work. How many stages of of animation are there for a scene, like in general?
Well, we first, it starts with we get our shots and our scenes issued by the director to the artist who is going to be animating that. So the directors tell what the moment is, what the acting beats are, and what's the purpose of the shot and how the shot fits within the sequence. So, and then each animator gets those shots that they got assigned to them, and they do. Some people, like myself, I do thumbnails, do little drawings, exploring what the shot could be. I do a lot of little drawings, they're about a thumb's length, just because you want to do some exploration like that, just to figure out what you want to do for the shot before you actually start animating it. Some people like Kira, she does video reference. She actually acts the shot herself, and she used the video of that as a reference. So it
And
starts
show
that way.
nobody, only for my eyes.
They look great. I've seen them. She's a great actress. So so once you have that pass, some people, show the directors that way. Some people don't. Some people rather do a first pass, which we call a blocking pass, which basically just do the bare minimum poses to convey your ideas. So you put like 5 poses, 6 poses in there to just show this is what I'm thinking. Then you show the directors that. From that point on, it's a lot of iterations. You get, sometimes the directors see everything that they want in the blocking, then they approve it, and then you just finish it offline. But often they'll have notes, and then you do another pass and you show it again. So we have dailies, daily with the directors. So we show them, I think our dailies was in the morning, and then we show the directors, every day if you need to, until they approve it. And then after they approve it, they just show to Kira, myself, and the supervisors until it's all polished and finished. So it's a iterative process where, you show the director's office as you need to.
And for perspective, each animator animates about 3 seconds a week. So, we're paying attention to every blink, every eye dart, every little nuanced, finger gesture, all of those things. It's a very slow process, but it's fun. So
About that process, I wanted to ask you both, because Disney, Pixar, you guys are both very well known for your attention to detail and your attention to very specific details. Sometimes, I mean, just minor things. And one thing that the producers were happy to share with me was, for example, Mirabel's dress and the way that's put together. What how does that how do those meetings go for you guys, or talk amongst yourselves when you guys decide to put so many details into the shots, or is that the director asking for those smaller things?
I think with the acting performance and the little nuances in the movement or expressions, it comes from both, but usually the animators are really excited. We think of ourselves as actors. So, we're shy actors because most of us don't like to be in front of the camera. We act through these characters. And so our bread and butter is finding those moments of specificity and detail that we can put into the performance. And we're really excited to kind of ooh, I have this idea. I see these people doing this kind of gesture all the time. I want to put that in here. I think this is a great spot for it. And so you kind of present that in your animation blocking to the director. And oftentimes they're like, oh, I never would have thought of that, but I recognize that. That's so great. The moment that people can start to see themselves or people that they know in it, that's when you know that the character is resonating. So we're always striving for those moments. But often the directors would be like, oh, can you take a look at, we were talking to our consultant here, and they were talking about when their grandma does this, can you meet with them and have them do that thing that they showed us? And so sometimes they will have the idea as well. So it's really, animation is a team sport. None of us do this in a vacuum on our own. We're all collectively doing this together. And since there are 100 animators on these films, or on this film in particular, we want Mirabel to feel like she is a consistent character that doesn't have anybody behind her. She's real, and so you don't want to feel like she's absolutely different depending on which artist is animating her in the scene. She has to be consistent all the way through. So it's definitely a team sport in figuring out who these characters are.
In fact, just to add a little bit to that too, in some ways, I feel like we kind of grew together to the style of our films. Like we work with Byron the most, I think, as a director. We worked with him, when Kira and I joined the studio on Bolt, and then on Tangled, and on Zootopia, and now on this film. And I think a lot of us had the opportunity to work with, having the opportunity to work with him. We kind of assimilated a lot of his sensibilities. He does like a very subtle type of animation. So sometimes when you're as an animator, we want to move the character around because it's fun to do, and that's what we do. But he's also an animator, but as a director, you can see he really likes things to be very subtle, and the main idea to be the driving force on a shot. So when Kira and I got hired to work with him on this film, we already knew that this was going to be a thing. Detail was going to be a thing, and which kind of, it makes total sense, especially on these characters, like you mentioned before. Mirabel's dress, it's so rich, it's so beautiful, and so flowy. If the animation was like always over the top, you wouldn't be able to see that much of her dress. So you need to give room for that to breathe. So when she does little gestures, and with sometimes she picks up her dress and does something, there's different departments down the line, they're going to be pick up the little gestures that we did in animation, and they're going to build this beautiful flowing dress that kind of follows that motion. So it's a really kind of cool thing to see as you're finishing your shot and as it progresses through the pipe as well.
And one little tidbit on that dress, they actually like ordered us a skirt that was similar to Mirabel's and a blouse that was similar to Mirabel's that the animators could use if they wanted to help film reference, to see like, well, if Mirabel is walking, how much does that swing? If she spins, how does it spin around? So we really get into character.
That's fantastic. Kira and Renato, thank you so much for all your insight. I really appreciate it. I love all the work you guys do. Sometimes on unsung heroes in the background, because like you both said, at the end of the day, you guys want to make it like Mirabel is our own person. Nobody created her, and I am excited to see the final product. Thank you for your time, and nice to meet you both.
Nice to meet you too.